And we just want to give our participants a moment to enter the room. And good day, everyone. And I have a wonderful panel of distinguished guests to introduce today. First, I want to say welcome to the QEM Heroes webinar series. I'm Christine Wood, and I serve as the Assistant Program Director for the Heroes Fellows Program at QEM. And for more than 30 years, QEM has been a national catalyst for STEM education transformation and research capacity building. Currently, the QEM network serves nearly 9,900, colleges and universities and reaches more than 8,000 individuals nationwide. This webinar is part of the HEROES initiative, and the HEROES program brings together former federal scientists to lend their expertise and support to the STEM research and education communities. Our fellows are here to provide tools and tips for navigating the funding landscape, developing STEM programs and partnerships, and improving talent retention in in-demand fields. We hope this series promotes engagement with our Heroes Fellows and provides valuable resources to our participants. As a note, the webinar recordings and slides, if there are slides today, will be available in the QEM Resource Hub. By attending this webinar, you will soon be added to the QEM network and granted access to the hub. I'm so happy to introduce our guests today. I will start with our Heroes Fellows. Karen Ford Jackson is a grants and resource development professional with experience supporting federally funded education, innovation, and community development programs. She has held roles with the U.S. Department of Education as a management and program analyst, where she has provided guidance to grant oversight, technical assistance, data-informed support to strengthen program performance, compliance, and strategic impact. And Dr. Chaz Gipson is a national grants leader and scholar practitioner who has overseen large-scale discretionary grant programs serving hundreds of colleges and universities nationwide, advancing student access and success in STEM and high-needs disciplines. His leadership spans federal grant monitoring, peer review oversight, technical assistance, and data-informed performance improvement. Dr. Gipson holds a PhD in communication focused on media representation, mental health, resilience, and higher education, along with a master's in education leadership and policy from Howard University. He also earned a Master of Divinity in Counseling from Virginia Union University, a BA in Sociology and Public Health Sciences from Morehouse, and completed a postdoctoral fellowship at American University School of Education. And Dr. James T. Jackson serves as a professor of special education in the Department of Curriculum and Instruction at Howard University. Since coming to Howard, he has been engaged in evaluation programs and projects for the U.S. Department of Justice, the U.S. Department of Education, the Office of State Superintendent of Education for Washington, D.C., Mount Pleasant High School in Wilmington, Delaware, and countless public and charter schools. While much of Dr. Jackson's evaluation experience has focused on teacher quality and development, he has also had opportunities to evaluate programs for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Chester Mental Health Center for the North Central Association of Colleges and Schools. And Dr. Roderick Smothers is a nationally recognized higher education leader, strategist, scholar, and champion for HBCUs. Dr. Smothers currently serves as Executive Director of the Center for the Study of HBCUs at Virginia Union University, where he also serves as a professor of education. Through the center, he advances research, scholarships, convenings, and strategic initiatives designed to strengthen the sustainability, competitiveness, and impact of the nation's HBCUs. Previously, Dr. Smothers served for 9 years as president and CEO of Philander Smith College, now Philander Smith University. His presidency was marked by significant institutional growth, including expanded academic offerings, the launch of the institution's first graduate programs, increased enrollment and retention, record philanthropic support, and the institution's transition from college to university status. And Dr. Elaine Venterpool is currently a professor and chair of the Department of Biological Sciences at Oakwood University in Huntsville, Alabama. She earned her PhD in microbiology and molecular genetics from Loma Linda University, followed by postdoctoral training in microbial pathogenesis and molecular neuropharmacology. Throughout her career, Dr. Vanderpool has combined excellence in biomedical research with a deep commitment to increasing the participation and success of underrepresented students in STEM. As principal investigator and co-principal investigator on grants from the NSF, the U.S. Department of Education, the NIH, and UNCF, She has secured millions of dollars to develop innovative research integrated curricula, strengthen STEM education, and expand undergraduate research opportunities. Her programs prepare students for graduate, medical, dental, and other health professional schools through hands-on research, mentorship, and community engagement. So without further ado, I'd like to turn the floor over to our distinguished panel today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Christine. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. We consider this a part two from our rich conversation that we've had before with this distinguished panel. We've added a new panelist to our list, Dr. Smothers, and we are so excited to have you as a part of this panel. So this panel is about, I apologize, I'm having some technical challenges. Give me 1 second. Got it. Thank you for joining us again for this important conversation. Whether you are a faculty member, administrator, student, researcher, policymaker, government leader, industry partner, or proud HBC graduate, we are delighted you are here. Today's discussion, as a part two, is not simply about responding to change, it is about leading change. Historically, Black colleges and universities have always been engineers of innovation, opportunity, and transformation. The question before us is not whether HBCUs have a future. The question is, how do we intentionally shape that future together? So, why this conversation matters, it's very important because HBCUs right now are navigating one of the most transformative periods in higher education history. We are witnessing rapid advances in artificial intelligence, changing demographics, evolving workforce expectation, new funding opportunities, heightened accountability, and shifting public policy. Yet, through all of these periods of uncertainty, HBCUs have continued to do what they've always do. They produce leaders, create opportunities, and transform communities. And with that, we will jump right into our questions. We're going to start with one of our first questions that we started with on the last conversation so that we can get the ball rolling. So let's look ahead. As we're looking ahead, as you consider the next decade, what do you believe will be the single greatest opportunity and the greatest challenge for HBCUs? And I will start with Dr. Jackson, if you can answer that question for us.
I think for me, having worked at a number of HBCUs, I think the single greatest opportunity and challenge for HBCUs would be a couple of things. One, to make sure that we shift our focus from what HBCUs have always done. HBCUs have a history of socially upward mobility for our community. HBCUs have been a very strong component of moving us from this idea of under resources to resources. And I think as we move forward, we have to think about what do we do for the next plus years. And I'm thinking that we need to shift our focus from mobility to enhancing the idea of wealth creation. Because I think if we think about encouraging our students to think about wealth creation, we can then impact generations of individuals. We don't talk enough about financial stability in the communities. We need to do more of that so that students understand that as they're socially moving forward, they need to think about how they want to create wealth for their children, their grandchildren, and other family members. So I think that's one of the greatest challenges for us. I think another one is making sure that we use the momentum that we have recently received from philanthropy gifts. Here at Howard, for example, we have gotten a lot of dollars from wealthy individuals. And so I think it's important for us to take heart to that and make sure that we use those dollars to enhance our endowments. Because again, without a strong endowment, I don't think HBCUs can last. And then I think the greatest single challenge would be to make sure that we look at the bottlenecks that often impact the infrastructure of HBCUs. Here at Howard, sometimes it's very difficult to do what we want to do because we don't have the infrastructure. We have, as I said in our previous meeting, we had 36,000 students apply to Howard this year. We were only able to accept 2,500. And I think with the expansive growth and students wanting to come to HBCUs, we have to match that growth with the resources to make sure that we have the infrastructure to accommodate those individual students. And a lot of HBCUs don't have the infrastructure to do that. So those would be my suggestions.
Thank you so much. And I will pass the ball now to Dr. Smothers. Could you answer that question for us? And if you need me to repeat it, I can.
Be great.
So, as you consider the next decade, what do you believe will be the single greatest opportunity and the greatest challenge for HBCUs? And thank you so much for being a part of our panel. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you as well. And again, to the organizers, thank you all for the great opportunity. I want to just say in the event I am cut off at any time, we're experiencing a power outage on our campus today. So all that you see now is by way of my phone. And as you know, I have Verizon, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So in no way a plug against Verizon, but again, super excited about the opportunity. And I really thank Dr. Jackson for his responses to the questions as well. I wish that all of our HBCUs could be in a posture in which Howard finds itself. It is, while most of us would say that Howard is well resourced, I know Wayne and I know the challenges that he has expressed in rooms so there they would say they probably could use more resources. So I believe I'm going to answer the back end of the question first, and then I'm going to move to the front end. I believe that our greatest challenge continues to be the lack of resources and the lack of underfunding. I just believe I'm an unapologetic advocate for HBCUs. I'm not a believer that the grass is greener on the other side. I believe that our green at our HBCUs is just as green as anywhere else. And if you gave our institutions, or if philanthropic America or the philanthropic world decided that they wanted to invest in our HBCUs at the same rate and pace that many of our predominantly white institutions are resourced, I believe that HBCUs could not only compete, but they could far exceed some of the metrics that you see at other institutions. And so because that is not the case, because it is still the reality today that if you combine all of the elements of the what I call the lower 50 percentile of our HBCUs, they still would not exceed, or that endowment collectively would not exceed the size of one of our well-resourced, predominantly white institutions. I'm going to take UT Austin because I used to work in Austin, Texas, or I'm going to take the University of Arkansas Fayetteville because I'm right up the street from those institutions. Their endowments alone exceed more than 50% of all of our HBCUs combined, especially when you're looking at the private. So
Wow.
that to me is the greatest challenge. It's a lack of resources. The greatest opportunity, in my opinion, exists in the reality that because we have always punched above our weight, because we do have exceptionally amazing students and faculty members who are on the cutting edge and who are thinking outside of the box to solve the problems that our community faces, or our communities face, I believe that that is our greatest opportunity. I believe that the shift from what I call, or what we would often refer to as the general education curriculum, or the core, with degree programs that perhaps could use some refreshing and some updating. I believe that the greatest opportunity exists around the revision of a general education core that is more focused on skills and that is more focused on literacy I'm sorry, technology fluency or AI
Mhm.
fluency, or those things that are truly going to shape the future of the world. I believe that the more we innovate and become creative around those things, to me,
Mhm.
that exists the greatest opportunity. I was listening this morning to our brother president down at UAPB, who was talking about the work they're doing in their land grant mission. And they are they grow, fun fact, UAPB produces rice for more than half the world. I didn't know
Mhm.
this. And so he was
Mhm.
saying that one of the researchers there has discovered an age factor with respect to rice, and that it helps us to age better. When you're 50, you look like you're 30. And he said that his scientists or his professors had discovered this, and they are seeking funding to help take this research to another level. We have several HBCUs who are doing what I call the rice work that UAPB is doing. And in as much as we can invest more in the brain power and the creativity of our scientists, of our students, then I think that and in that component exists the greatest opportunity for our HBCUs.
Thank you so much for that answer. Dr. Vanderpool, I will repeat the question for you as well. As you consider the next decade, what do you believe will be the single greatest opportunity and greatest challenge for HBCUs?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I want to say I agree with both of the Dr. Smothers as well as Dr. Jackson on here. I mean, it just took it right from my thought. But I do want to kind of add to it because, as Oakwood is a smaller private HBCU. We don't get, state funding and things like that. So I will start with the challenge first from what we see. Our HBCU institutions were made very long time ago out of necessity. And because of that,
Mhm.
our facilities are aging pretty badly.
Mhm.
Our I'm looking at the labs, I'm looking at the different spaces, I'm looking at the dorms, and it does hurt my heart. I have my oldest son, he came through Oakwood. I have two children right now at Oakwood University, and I see the facilities. And we need to somehow secure some funding, whether it's through, fundraising, grants to build it up. The technology, the grants, we have to compete. Our kids have to be able to compete when they go out in the community. We need to have state-of-the-art laboratory facilities. I mean, yeah, we've had Title III to kind of help get equipment and things like that there, but advances have been made since we've gotten these equipment a few years ago. So really that infrastructure needs to be built. The dorms need to be built up. My daughter comes home, she was like, well, we didn't have Wi-Fi today. And I was like, okay. So these things we have to make sure our children are taken care of. I just like what my colleague said here. I will only send my children to HBCUs. I'm a strong believer in HBCUs. And just like what they said, with the little bit that we have and to see what we can produce, just imagine if our capacity was as the capacity of the PWIs. We would be unstoppable, right? So that takes me now to the outreach. Even with the little bit of resources we have, our strength and opportunity moving forward will continue to be going out to the communities, going to the underserved communities, introducing them back to STEM, building the STEM identity, because we see a lot of that have fallen off. And that really needs to be instilled in our students as well, because they're the ones that are going to be the public servants. They're going to have to be the one to testify to the power of an HBCU, the power of a STEM degree from an HBCU, the power
Mhm.
of, it just like when my students are applying to med school, I say, you better add Howard, you better add Morehouse. I'm telling you, you add those HBCUs, right? Because there's a mission more than just education. There's a mission to bring everybody from our community into our mission. And we need to continue that.
Mhm. Thank you so much for that question. My next question for you all, funding and sustainability. Beyond traditional appropriations and tuition revenue, where do you see the greatest opportunities for HBCUs to diversify revenue streams and strengthen long-term financial sustainability? I will
Yeah,
start with you,
and
Dr. Vanderpool, since
and
I
Karen,
left with you.
I'm so glad you asked that question because they each hit on that slightly, and
hmm
so that's
hmm
where I was hoping that we would go next. So,
Yes, absolutely. And I have a follow-up question to that question once I get your answers.
Okay, well, thank you for starting me again. So, first of all, I wanted to say we were having a very great momentum with government funding. We were able to get funding to help with what we needed, right? To help start off with, smaller grants that can then expand. But of course, we've now kind of hit a brick wall, right? With what's going forward. So right now, I am still pushing forward with getting grants, some of them which I hadn't heard from yet. Still waiting. But right now, I'm also pushing for there are partner institutions that do believe in HBCUs, and they
Mhm.
have been partnering with us. They have been trying to contribute to our endowment funds, and we need to still continue to do that. Even if it's not necessarily monetary, we've had partners that we've reached out to maybe allow our students to go there and do internships and our faculty as well as that. And we have other schools, Alabama. We have UAH down the road. We have another HBCU down the road, Alabama A&M. And we also have UAB, which have been a really huge partner for us, really including them. And they have used their resources. They have provided MCAT prep for our students and things like that. So we need to maintain partnerships. We need to
Mhm.
build our endowments. We still
Mhm.
need to push out the grants, but we have to put out twice the amount now. Hoping that we can get something back. But we need to find ways how to institutionalize what has been successful and try to get fundraising to get those going forward. So funding is an issue. It's not
Mhm.
impossible, but we do have to push a little bit further and be a bit more creative.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Dr. Smothers, I will repeat the question for you. Beyond traditional appropriations and tuition revenue, where do you see the greatest opportunities for HBCUs to diversify revenue streams and strengthen long-term financial sustainability?
Yeah, well, again, this is my happy place. As you might imagine, I spent most of my career in the advancement space as a chief fundraising officer for three HBCUs. And so I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly part of it. I can remember a decade ago sitting around the table with the other 36 private HBCU member institutions talking about the last 3 years that we have experienced. And so we were sitting at the table hoping that there would be a philanthropist or philanthropist with an S on the end who would come along and realize that HBCUs were a good investment. And so now, a decade later, here we are, right? We've had
Mhm.
quite a few of those philanthropists to emerge, and many of them have made transformational gifts to our institutions. Now, and as those of us who are taking score, others probably deserve to get some support as well. I'm a big believer in the work you all are doing down at Oakwood. And so I've got some ideas for you as well, Dr. Vanderpool, that I'd love to share with you. But I think the other part is, we are focused on raising money, and I think that is critically important. And we are depending on the government. The government has been a major supporter. In fact, the government has
Mhm.
been our largest prospect, is what we would call in
Mhm.
the philanthropy space. We believe they have been there, but I believe our greatest opportunity is for us to stop thinking about how we raise money per se and begin thinking about how we build institutions that create and capture and compound the value of the resources that we have. Because I think there have been some transformational philanthropy that's been going on. But also, if you look at the market, if you look at those institutions who have been entrepreneurial in nature and they have created a product that they can take to the market and sell that then returns revenue to the institution. I think we have to begin looking at resources in that way as well, in a more entrepreneurial way. Final thing that I'll add to this question is, I'm going to use the name. So Mackenzie Scott changed the game in philanthropy. And
Yeah, she
I
did.
always say to my brother and sister presidents, especially at our HBCUs, that a wise investment for you can be and should always be to build capacity in your advancement offices. So we go on our campuses, and Brother Jackson, this may not refer to you because Howard has a big old advancement team up there. But our Oakwoods and our Philanders and our Talladegas and our other smaller HBCUs, they may have 3 or 4 man-woman advancement operations. And we are not able to spend the time cultivating the next generation of donors. And so I believe, for example, that in this freshman class that we received this year, I believe that the next Mackenzie Scott for the next 20 years. And if we are not cultivating those donors today, Dr. Vanderbilt, I love what you said. Those physician potential students should be considering the HBCU medical schools. We should be cultivating those donors today because that is what the predominantly white institutions have been doing for centuries. They start cultivating their donors when they get to campus so that when they leave, they have the expectation that no, it's not should I give, or it's not how, but it is when are you going to do it, because the expectation is there. And we have to do a better job of that as HBCUs. I think that is our greatest opportunity in America. Just last year, and Chaz, get me off my soapbox. So this is a question I love. So just last year, for example, there was over $400 billion given out in America in philanthropy. Over $400 billion. I sit on the planning committee with Giving USA, which is an outgrowth of the Indiana School of Philanthropy. It breaks down. You can Google it, pull the slide up. It will tell you that 65% of that money came from individuals. It didn't come from corporations. It didn't come from foundations. It didn't come from it came from individuals. And so we have our most powerful tool exists in our alumni database. And in our alumni database, there are prospects there who have the ability to transform our institutions, just like Mackenzie Scott and other philanthropists have done for their institutions. And we just need to identify those individuals early and build the relationships with them so that when they get to that point, they can help transform the places that help to build them. So I'll stop there, but I think that's our greatest opportunity, is building the relationships with our prospects today. This generation, the Gen Zers, will become the largest group of individuals who can impact the philanthropic space ever. The baby boomers have all the money now. Well, this generation, they are the grandchildren of the baby boomers. And so they're going to inherit all of this wealth that the baby boomer generation is getting ready to give out. The kids who are freshmen and sophomores and seniors on our campus now are the grandkids of the boomers. And they're going to inherit all this wealth. And you know what? They're interested in climate change. They're interested in social justice. They're interested in those things that, to me, we have the ability to impact with our degree programs today. Go and get them. Build relationships with them. Give them the expectation today that 20 years from now, you have to help change this institution so that money will no longer be our issue. I'll hush now. Again,
thank you so much, Dr. Smothers, because I'm going to follow back up on what you just talked about. Dr. Jackson, give us your take about beyond traditional appropriations, tuition revenue. Where's the greatest opportunity to diversify the revenue stream and strengthen long-term financial sustainability?
I agree with everything that my colleagues said, but I'd like to add, develop partnerships with private and public organizations. Howard, because I think HBCUs have to leverage their skill set. For example, I went to a conference in Jackson, Mississippi, to an HBCU last year. They have a lot of land, and they've had folks asking them about leasing some of that land as a way to sustain the university. they're reluctant to do that. Howard, on the other hand, has lots of properties that they have gone in partnership with development corporations so that they have built lots of apartment buildings. Howard has a Howard has a new department of real estate investment. And that effort is bringing in lots of money to the university because Howard is now understanding that they could utilize their resources in terms of real estate to enhance the university's standing. So my suggestion would be, in addition to what my colleagues have already said, think about the land that you own, the HBCUs own, and how can we use that to make sure that we enhance our funding and sustainability, along with the philanthropy efforts.
I love that. So I want to piggyback on that when we talk about giving and graduates. Do you think there will ever be a time that there's some curriculum developed that is mandatory for freshmen to take just about this, just about their ability to give back to the institutions that they graduated from? And I will admit, I was slow to giving back to my HBCU, which is Hampton University. And now it's a regular part of my bills. So I know every month I give something to them. But how do we encourage that? Because we don't do that as much as some of the students from our predominantly white institutions. So do you think we will ever develop courses that say, hey, this is how you give back and how you keep your institution alive and well? Anybody can answer it.
Well, I certainly don't mind answering it. Again, I love talking about this. So, Dr. Jackson, let me tell you, your alma mater is a great example. I mean, Dr. Harvey there, I mean, built an empire around his, philanthropic prowess, if you would, and using his business acumen to really impact the institution in a meaningful way that ultimately allowed that institution to emerge as one of the top 10 HBCU endowments. And so he's a good example, and he did it by building relationships with alums like you, and by also brokering his business relationships. That's how he did it. That's the dichotomy of how his it's telling my thing is unstable. So if I'm chopping up, please excuse me. But Dr. Jackson, let me tell you that the curriculum is there already. It doesn't have to be developed. We can look to several of our peer institutions who have done it very well. We can look outside of the HBCU space to some institutions who have done this very well. And so I don't think it's building the curriculum. I believe it's just a matter of building an engagement continuum that allows our students to engage in meaningful experiences so that when they are done matriculating, they feel a sense of obligation to give back, right? Because it's one thing to be taught it.
Yeah.
You can be taught it all day long, but if you take what you've been taught and you do nothing with it, when you get out of the institution, when you graduate, then hey, it's all for naught. So I think that the engagement piece, the student engagement experience is where we have to strengthen our work, and along with a curriculum, if you would, that teaches them the art and science of philanthropy and of doing good with what they have gotten from their institutions.
Thank you so much for that. Does anyone else want to add on to that?
I would agree with Dr. Smothers in the sense that I think we need to do a good job at making sure that students are aware that they can and should give back. I'm not sure if we need to do it via curriculum, but I think we need to have messages to let them know that, look, it's your obligation. It's one of those social responsibility things. Somebody did it for you, so you must consider doing it for someone else. And I think when we do it that way, I think we can encourage students to give back. But also, I think we need to make sure that students are having good experiences during their matriculation. Because one of the things that I often hear at Howard is that I'm not giving back because I wasn't treated well. And I think we need to think about how we treat our students before we start asking them for money. Because if we don't treat them well, they will not give back. And so I think, again, we need to think about how we interface with students during their matriculation in order to make sure that they want to give back.
Yeah.
I
And let
agree,
me
Dr.
just add to that because that what everything said was is 100%. Because those, I've been here for 20 years and I've seen the students that have come through, and those that had the greatest experience and felt the biggest impact from Oakwood, they're the ones that are giving back. They're the ones that are like, Dr. V, do you have a donations account? Where can I put the money? So they're the ones that are the strongest. And so I 100% agree with that. Another space that I think we should start doing it, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a curriculum, but I know when they have like freshman orientation, I think we need to start planting that seed then. And as they matriculate through, they need some financial courses no matter what their major is anyway, too. But that could be a part of it. And then when they're exiting, how they have the senior exit, for financial aid, that needs to be put in there. But the experience, that is the one right there. And a lot of our students, they go off to medical school, dental school, they're becoming scientists, they're becoming wealthy at some point. So we really need to make sure that, I stay in touch. There's times I need something, and I still have a group me with all my grads on there. I say, listen, we need to do this. We need this amount. Can you please help? No problem, Dr. V. And then they go ahead and donate it. So yes, the experience and maintaining relationships with your former students, those are some of the biggest things we can do to make sure we get our money back. Our investments come back to us.
Yes. Thank you so much for this portion of our conversation. I will turn it over to my colleague Chaz, where he will ask some other questions.
Well, first of all, thank you, Karen. I appreciate that you asked that because you brought up a lot of things, and especially with Dr. Jackson's response on the experience as a Howard alum. I know exactly what he means. We've had this conversation on several times. We see all over social media where Howard students, particularly I follow Howard, and some students not have the best experience and they go out and expose it and things like that. So we certainly have to do a great job at the experience. Thank you also for the other responses. And Dr. Smothers, I just love when you give us a word, particularly around in this area. I know that you're extremely passionate about. However, all of you are faculty members. Dr. V is doing amazing work down in Oakwood, and Dr. Jackson is just the faculty member that everybody at Howard University just loves. And Dr. Smothers, you've been teaching and serving as administrator for a very long time. And so I have a two-part question for you all. And so which will be, what investments should HBCUs make in faculty development, leadership pipelines, and organizational culture to remain competitive in higher education? While at the same time, we know AI is transforming higher education in this space. So at the same time, how should HBCUs leverage AI and other emerging technologies to improve teaching, research, student support, institutional effectiveness, and etc., while addressing ethical considerations? So again, what investments should be made into faculty development, etc., for the competitiveness in higher education, and how should AI and technologies be a part of that? And anyone can just chime in.
I think anytime that a university invests in its faculty, you're going to have a strong faculty. One of the things that we have done here at Howard, we have the Center for Teaching Excellence, where we get a lot of assistance from individuals in that space about how we can improve our teaching via technology, via all sorts of things. I mean, we have trainings almost every day. And so I think continuing those things when it's available, when it's convenient for faculty, would be a plus. I am not so much of a fan of AI. However, I do think that we need to do a better job at helping faculty understand how to implement and utilize AI in the context of our classes. Again, via the Center for Excellence in Teaching here at Howard, we have a plethora of experiences that will help us engage as faculty members. And so I think Dr. Gipson, if we can continue that efforts for all HBCUs, where we have a dedicated space where HBCUs are offering the trainings that their faculty need to be current, I think that's going to be a wonderful thing to make sure that if we are able to invest in those kind of things, our faculty will be strong enough to be able to do the work that needs to be done with the changing nature of society and the inclusion of AI.
Dr. Jackson, before we go to the next person, you said something. So, how do you get seasoned faculty? Seasoned faculty. I remember, for example, in my PhD program, and I remember COVID was happening, and we had senior faculty was like, and as of course we were shifting to um, uh, uh, technology more, and we had seasoned faculty who had never used technology, and they were not willing to. Transition. I remember one faculty member specifically said, "I'd rather retire than figure out this." So how do you really get seasoned faculty on board with this? Because
Well, I'm one of those faculty members because I'm not a fan of technology, right? Um, but I have learned through practice that it's a good thing to do. And so what I find has been helpful is providing faculty with incentives to get them involved and get them motivated to do the work. Because if you give them incentives, small things like an opportunity to do a raffle or something, one of the things that I've been impressed with Howard does that. Howard offers incentives to their faculty members to engage in this process so that they can be better faculty members. So offering incentives, offering the courses or the work when it's convenient for faculty members, it's things that I would recommend. I think one of the things that I hear a lot about here at Howard is that sometimes this training that they do is given when faculty are not present, like during the summer. And I think the university has to think about when they offer these kinds of trainings so that it doesn't interfere with the off time that faculty will have during the summer months. It doesn't help us to do trainings during the summer months, especially those of us who are 9-month employees. We're not going to do that. But if we do it and within a 9-month period when it's convenient for faculty and offer them incentives, I think it will encourage them to be more actively involved.
thank you.
Can I add
Absolutely.
on?
Please.
Yeah, and it's answering the question. We have a very bad, I guess, habit at HBCUs, especially the smaller ones, of kind of overworking our faculty,
Yes.
giving them too much coursework. When you have faculty like that and they get burnt out, and even though they should be writing the grants, even though they should be doing the research and those things that they need to build up, the institution really needs to invest in making sure that there's enough faculty members that are there to teach the course load. So if we do need to offer a small release time for individuals to write the grants and to do the research, I think that's the most important. I mean, it's embarrassing to say how much credit hours I taught last semester as a chair, and I run 3 grants, but I had to do it because we are short of faculty. And I really feel it for them. So the first thing to invest in faculty development is to make sure there's enough faculty to begin with, right? And when we're doing, we do webinars, we actually do workshops on our campus, and we partner with outside consultants. I think that we need to have some workshops on 2 things. The first one is technology and AI, and how to do it properly, how to incorporate into our class. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of AI, but AI has helped me with certain things, made my life a little bit easier, even though I'm overworked. It can make our life a lot easier. And I think faculty, especially the seasoned ones, I have faculty, I graduated Oakwood a long time ago, and my teacher is still here. And I have to go show her how to use the technology. So I think we really do need to resource areas where we can teach them how to do technology. But right now, I think the urgent matter is we can't have any faculty engaging in faculty development if they're teaching way overload at max class capacities. That mental load, they're burnt out. Blood pressures are going up, and we cannot have that. So that is where I see the biggest need is.
Thank you.
Chaz, I just want to add one thing. I'm sorry, Dr. Gibson. I want to add just one thing, because I believe I agree
Please.
with everything that Dr. Jackson and Dr. V have said. Dr. V, I hope it's okay for me to call you Dr. V. I love that,
I
by
love
the
it
way.
too.
And so, we have, with the exception of you, Dr. Gibson, maybe you, Dr. V, I would say that you two perhaps are the only, what we often refer to in this space as digital natives, right? You're born into a world where there's always been technology. Um,
Mhm,
we saw this proliferation occur with the advent of the smartphone. And I
mhm,
remember, I was an Android guy, the old phone. I refused to switch over to Apple and the iPad and the iPhone. I just refused to do it. I resisted it for so long. But eventually, when I started to see that all of my colleagues around me were doing it, and when I started to see that all of my students were coming with it and that they were doing it, I felt the need and the urgency to step up my game so that I could
mhm,
be, in the same stratosphere with those people with whom I worked and engaged with on a daily basis. I believe that such is the case with this notion around this question in our faculty members, Dr. Jackson, who may feel that, hey, this AI thing ain't for me, or you have some faculty members who will say, I'll retire before I'll fully embrace this. I just
mhm,
think we have to continue to press it. This is where the world is going. And eventually,
mhm,
and this is where, as presidents, we sometimes, while in the perfect space, we would love to keep all of our faculty members on board, and because they're a part of the special sauce that occurs at our HBCUs. But I also know that the world is changing and the world is shifting, and those institutions and those individuals who do not opt to innovate and move forward with this shifting world are going to find themselves left out.
Yes.
So some
mhm.
tough decisions have to
Yeah.
be made, and sometimes that doesn't always feel good. But you talk about this leadership component of it, and if you are indeed wanting to move the institution to the next level and invest in students so that they can be more competitive, those are some of the decisions sometimes that have to be made, Dr. Gibson. And so I think it's a great question. And I think it is actually going to be one of the defining attributes of the future of our institutions. How well we do in this space, if we're going to indeed be competitive in the future.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Chaz, if you don't mind, and I know we have a question and answer period, but I know Dr. V is going to have to jump off because she has lab, and I really like for her and the rest of the panel to answer this question. So there was a question that came in, and it says, as a pre-tenure faculty at an HBCU, we are experiencing a push to increase student enrollment and graduate rates, but cuts to skilled administrative staff and writing coaches to support student success. I am noticing an express burnout from colleges with increased teaching loads, which are greater than peer non-HBCU institutions, and advising expectations without the resources and supports. I was excited to be a part of faculty at an HBCU. However, faculty burnout is rising. There's a focus on student experience. Faculty turnover and burnout affect the student experience. What do you recommend to HBCUs to provide structural efficiencies and workload policies that support faculty thriving and not burn out?
That's a really
That's
powerful
really
question.
powerful question.
Yeah.
That's really a
So
powerful
whoever wants
question.
to take it first.
Let me just jump in on that. That right there, because that has been our struggle. Okay. So burnout is real. I see it. I mean, I see my faculty, they will start getting sick. The institution, they have policies, they do, but sometimes it's just really hard because we do not have enough faculty. And given everything that's going on right now in the nation where grants are getting cut, faculty are getting cut, staff are getting cut. So that means now the teaching load has to go up. And even though we do get paid overload, it's still getting paid overload still is not taking away from our health. So what we have, what we do, at least at Oakwood, that has helped us somewhat. The AI has helped me. I will say that. So we do need to look at AI. They will take a little bit off of you. But one thing that Oakwood does, and I'm sure the other institutions probably do this, is that we can actually hire our students as TAs, as lab assistants. And I usually try to get in as much freshmen as I can. We can start training them because what they end up being in my right and left hands when I start moving up, and they help. That has really helped me out. The clubs and organizations that we have in the department, they have taken on things that has taken the workload off of us and as well as our faculty. That is no justification, however, for the institution to do this. And the only way we can solve this is if the institution really sees the investment and the need and at least give the proper amount of faculty. But sometimes the funds are not there, especially when grants got pulled. But right now, there's no like win-win 100% because we are short. We have to get the money, we have to get the resources. But we're trying to use what we have now. I mean, my students, they're my greatest. Because I will start lab, just like I'll start lab, get them started, I'll be in there, but my TAs are there running around helping these students to focus those microscopes. I don't have to spread myself 40 different ways. So there are some ways, but the institution has to invest in those students too, to give them the funds to do that. Oakwood, they do that. They do it for biology, they do it for different departments. But this is something that we need to look at to really invest. And it helps our students with the experience. It helps them to get to their graduate and professional programs that they need to. These are skill sets they will gain in the process of helping us.
Yeah, I want to just add, the study that we conducted a survey.
You're breaking up, Dr. Smothers.
Am I breaking up? Is this
Yes.
better?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. The center conducted a study in 24-25, and it was titled The HBCU Shift. And we surveyed over 75 current and past presidents, and we asked them what would be the priorities for HBCUs over the next decade. And these presidents responded with a great sense of efficacy to the survey, and they outlined these 6 things. I'm going to share them with you real quick because the number 6 was the write-in addition, and I think that this one is perhaps most important and germane to this discussion of this question. The first one was enrollment management. The second one was student success. So we talked about that, what it takes to get our students through. Fundraising and endowment. Infrastructure and technology and facilities. We talked about all those things today. And then number 5 was academic program relevance. The other one, which was a number 6, which ended up being a write-in response because so many presidents, when we asked them, was there something we weren't considering in their questions, they wrote in the word talent. And this notion around how do we maintain talent that we have? How do we recruit talent? And I believe that part of what you're describing, Dr. V, and what the powerful question, Dr. Ford Jackson, that you read, is just centered around this mindset that leadership must embrace, that in a post-COVID environment, how our students show up in the educational place, how our faculty and staff show up in the workplace are just different, and that there are vulnerabilities and frailties from which the veil has just been pulled back. And so the focus now on the whole student and the whole employee has to be one that leadership must take into consideration. And also with the harsh reality, though, that as we look for insurance companies who will provide services that embrace, the things that we go to the doctor for wellness care, or a change in policy that gives an employee the ability to take a mental health day once a month, because we recognize that there are those things that we can do to appreciate the hard work that they're doing. But the other reality is this, that at our HBCUs, we still serve a majority of students who are living at or below the margins. who are first generation college students who come from families with a whole lot of drama and stuff going on. And it takes a lot to educate students who come from those circumstances. So for those who sit back and look at the work we do in the HBCU space and they think that it's a walk in the park, then this is the conversation that they need to be hearing, because it is not a walk in the park. People do put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in order to make sure that these kids can walk across the stage in 4 or 5 years. That is just the work that we do. And I don't think that that's going to ever change. I don't think that there's anything that AI or technology is going to be able to do to fix it. I don't think that there is. I just believe that if you give our HBCUs more resources, there's not a problem that we have at our HBCUs that a few more dollars can't solve. I just believe that that is the answer. And a change in mindset. I often say some attitudinal adjustments around the value of our faculty and the value of our staff who are serving these kids on a daily basis.
Thank you
I
for
agree
that.
with
And
my
Dr.
colleagues. Yeah, go
And
ahead.
I'm
I'm
sorry,
sorry.
Dr. Jackson. Dr. V, if you need to jump off, we understand. And thank you again for supporting us.
I could stay for another 15 minutes and then I got to run.
Thank you,
Okay,
Dr.
sounds
V.
good. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm sorry, Dr.
No,
Jackson,
no,
my apologies.
that's okay. I mean, I think the question was really powerful. And I think for me, I'm really appreciative of Howard in the sense that Howard has instituted, right after COVID, Howard instituted mental health days for its faculty and students. And so about once a month, we have a day where we don't do anything related to work.
Mhm.
And I think the other thing for me is that I have learned how to create a sense of balance because it is overtaxing sometimes. When I served as chair, and I taught 8 classes in one semester. It was
Wow.
like 24/7. But
Oh, my
in the
goodness.
midst of doing all
Wow.
that, I had to also think about how I was neglecting myself. And so it
Mhm,
was
mhm,
really important for me to, with all of that going on, I had to make sure I carved out time, even if it was just 2 hours a day, where I
mhm,
actually
mhm,
fed myself in order to get and recharge so that I can come back and do what I need to do for my students because I did not want students to not graduate. And
mhm,
so,
mhm,
because I could not get faculty to help teach some of the courses, I took it upon myself as chair to do that because I wanted those students to graduate. But in the midst of all of that, I made sure that 1 or 2 days out of the week, I gave myself at least 2 hours to retool myself. And I think those of us who are overtaxed with work, we have to make sure that if we're not well, we cannot help other students. So take time to feed your soul, even if it's just 30 minutes a day. Take time to feed your soul. At the end of my day, every day, I take a bath by candlelight. That's the way I recharge. You have got to be able to take care of you because if you can't take care of you, you can't take care of others.
Dr. Let me add to that. Also, your weekends are your weekends. Find
Yes.
time to do things on your weekends, whether that's to go see a movie, go see a play, to go to the park, go for a walk, spend time with your family, go hang out with your friends or something so you can really make sure that you're recharging yourself. Because we understand the work has to get done, but you really want to make sure you're taking advantage of that time as well. So don't take
Engage
it.
in good time management. Try not to take work home. Do everything at your office so that you don't have to, when you get home, you can enjoy your family and anything else that you enjoy doing.
Thank you. I thank you for that. I see a couple other questions or that's come up in a few hands. So, Christine, if I see Alondria Owens, and her hand has been up for quite a moment. So, if we can unmute her and you can ask your question.
Dr. Owens, I have allowed you to unmute to ask your question.
Okay, I'm not sure if she's still there or not. I also saw a question come in from Miss Adrienne Swinney.
Okay, I'll read that question. Can you speak to responsible ethical integration? Oh, you're talking about the chat question, Chaz?
Yeah,
The question.
for Miss Sweeney, she
Oh,
had a
the
chance.
first one. Okay.
And I didn't know if she
Sorry
wanted
about that.
come off mute and ask herself, or
I don't see the question in the chat.
I saw it removed. It popped up, but now it's not there. So if she
Okay.
wants to come off mute, she can. And if there's other participants while we have this panelist, if you have burning questions for something that you've heard or something that's happening on your campus or in your classroom or whatever, please raise your hand so we can address them appropriately.
And should I go first to the question in the Q&A?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. From one of our attendees, can you speak to responsible ethical integration of AI? As a graduate faculty member, what I see is student dependence on AI and use as a replacement tool and not as a support tool. Productivity benefits are being adopted and the learning process is being circumvented. It is a threat to learning and it is difficult to police when the checkers are not reliable. Academic research writing suffers, cognitive thought processes suffer, faculty load and care increases, etc. We are producing graduates, but are we producing prepared students capable of leadership, critical thinking, influence, and impact?
Etc. Wow.
I had an
All
experience last semester where students did their final exam, and I noticed in reading the responses, some of the questions or the responses were similar. And so I went to AI to check, and so apparently many of them were using AI to answer the question. So my decision was, for next time I teach this course, all exams are going to not be online, but they're going to be in person. That way, I'm able to see what you have learned and what you have not learned. And I'm taking a cue from a couple of professors. One was at, I think, Boston University, and another one was at an institution in the South, where they actually submitted their exams online, and they found that students were using AI to answer the questions. And when they decided to bring it back to the classroom, they found that the online version of the exams was tremendously lower when they took the exams in person. So I'm not doing online exams anymore. I'm doing face-to-face exams so that I can be sure that you're learning the material that I want you to learn, because AI is not going to help you in your profession in terms of being able to have the knowledge to do what it is that I want you to do.
Okay,
Thank you.
and
Chad, that
go
go ahead,
ahead.
Dr. B. Go ahead. I yield
Uh,
to you.
yeah, sorry. So just, I mean, our institution have crafted a actual statement policy with AI usage, and I think all the schools are kind of moving towards that direction.
Yes.
I do agree with Dr. Jackson. When we came out of COVID and I was still giving my exams online, I realized one of the hardest exams, almost everyone got an A. I said, well, really? I pulled one of the questions off that everybody got 100% on, and I put it on a sheet of paper and brought it to class. 1/3 of the class was able to answer it. And that was the last time that we gave any online exams. In our department, we give face to face. They put their phones away because, they got those apps that can give them the answers. And I still do go old school when it comes to homework. They have to handwrite their notes and submit them in. If they type it, they get a 0. I said, rewrite it and submit it. So we just have to be very creative on how we actually approach this with our students. I teach them at the beginning of every class how to use AI in terms of study and support. I tell them, go ahead, put those PowerPoints in chat, let it generate some questions to kind of help you, right? But we don't use that to write your papers, right? We don't. So I think if we educate them and they see, there's some majors, I'm not going to put it out there, but there's some majors that they use AI for everything. One of my professors in another department, it was with some that related to some coding, and put some weird words in there, and would know if the person was using AI because that crazy word will just keep popping up. Everybody except one person had that crazy word in the code. So this is a problem. We do have to teach it. We have to tell them the best way to do it. And if you get caught, it is a zero, just flat out, especially for grad school. You're turning out scientists. We can't have that, right? We can't have physicians being turned out like this. So, yes, we have to teach them how to do it right.
Dr. Smothers,
Yeah, well, I think Dr. V spoke to it actually.
you're breaking up.
In AI policy. Am I still breaking up? I'm sorry,
No,
it's this
we can
bad
hear you now.
connection here.
You're good.
Okay. I was just going to add that I think slowly more and more institutions will adopt policies that will govern the activity both at the faculty level, but also at the student level, so that it's incorporated into the student code of conduct. And you know, the world is behind on laws that help to govern the use of technology. And so if the world is behind, certainly we're going to be behind in our colleges and universities. And so the more we embrace these policies to help us govern it, I think the better. And this is where good shared governance comes in, right? Because it's not the CIO sitting in a corner developing it through the lens of a CIO, but it's those who are on the other side of it, the practitioners and the end users who are being able to contribute to what these policies look like. And I think the more we do that, the better off we're going to be.
Thank you for those responses. I'm also seeing something where there's some faculty saying, well, students are going to use AI regardless, so they figure out a way to incorporate it in their class. I remember one faculty member, I think they're teaching something like case law or something, and had the students to look up actual cases via AI. Then they had to go and dissect it themselves. And so it was a part of, they had to show how they used AI, then they have to show what they independently did. So, I mean, I think someone said earlier, we have to be creative. I do understand going the old school way, particularly in examining, but at the same time, in this world of innovation, I'm just seeing different ways that we can meet the student halfway. So those are just things to explore. Are there were there other questions from the audience?
Somehow, Dr. Swinney, Adrian Swinney, that question disappeared from the chat. I'm going to allow you to unmute and allow to talk if you would like to ask your question live.
Yes, that was my question that was just answered. So when I recognized it wasn't in the chat, I moved it over to the Q&A section. So that was my question that was just answered, just with concerns regarding responsible and ethical AI integration because of what I'm seeing. I teach mostly PhD students, and the degree to which I'm seeing a dependence on AI and having to have students to go back and rewrite assignments and challenge them on why they're utilizing it. At the end of the day, you can be as creative as you want. It still creates more work for faculty to govern it, especially when checkers are not reliable. So one checker may say this, I may get 7 different output from 7 different checkers, and the student is saying I didn't use it. So there are just so many nuances, and I am one who am considering moving a lot of my assignments to presentation format or oratory response with in-class discussion and or just other creative methods because of the degree of dependence I'm seeing.
And I think those would be wise activities to engage in because I think, again, students need to realize that they need to learn and not rely on artificial intelligence to supplement their learning. So I think what you're doing is absolutely wise.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Swinney, for your question. So as I'm looking at the time, I'm going to ask you this. If you could recommend one bold strategy that every HBCU should prioritize over the next 5 years, starting now, what would it be and why?
I think the bold strategy for me would be to encourage HBCUs to do more collaboration. Because I think if we could get together to do a large collaborative effort among all HBCUs, it would strengthen our foundation. We would have more voices at the table. One of the things that I'm really pleased about, and I don't know if it was Southern or Xavier, but they actually went into a partnership of a consortium of HBCUs where they're allowing their students to take courses across campuses in order to have them graduate in a timely fashion. Here at Howard, students, we have a consortium, we're a member of a consortium, but Howard does not allow students to take their final courses in the consortium. And I think that's wrong because students sometimes need one course to graduate. And if they can't take it at Howard, they can't graduate. So I think if we could build more collaboration among us as HBCUs, it would make our programs, our foundation, a lot stronger.
Yeah. Can I add on to that? Then I have to run to
Yes.
lab. And I kudos to Howard because I've been in contact with Howard. We have a MOU where Howard has been advising our students and have reached out and doing things to kind of help our students to get to medical school and things like that. So you guys are definitely practicing what you're preaching. And I think a lot of other HBCUs need to do that, especially our larger, stronger HBCUs, because this is now a pipeline for you all too,
Yes.
right? You're helping us. I'm going to send my students over to you. And this is investments that you're putting in coming back to you. I strongly believe in the consortium. We need to have a consortium really of HBCUs, whether it's for classes, partnership, mentorship, whatever it is, because we have to depend on ourselves because right now we don't know what government's going to do. We really have to lean on each other. So Dr. Jackson, you just hit it on the head right there in terms of what we need to do. That was a great talking to you all. I do have to jump off. I am so sorry, Dr. Smothers. It was great speaking with you. And hopefully I get to be on a panel with you all again in the future. All right. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you
Dr.
so much,
Wonderful.
Dr.
Thank
V.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Dr. Smothers, did you want to answer that?
Yeah, sure. I think that Dr. Jackson hit it on the head. I mean, in the same report that I referenced earlier, are you able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, on the same report that I referenced earlier, the title, The HBCU Shift, Rosalind Clark Artist is one of the quotes in the report said that collaboration would actually be the new form of HBCU dominance. And again, it seems like something that should be so natural for us, right? We should want to collaborate, but I will tell you, quite a few resist the collaboration component, and I do think that that is the greatest strength for our future. And as Dr. Jackson said, perhaps it is the bold move. I mean, if our ancestors, in my opinion, built our HBCUs to grant access, right? That was the premise and why our institutions were built. They were built around this notion of access, and collectively we've come together, the 100 and five remaining, and we have opened the doors to thousands of students. We continue to do so on a yearly basis. But what if we could come together in a collaborative way and now focus on how we can use that access that we've granted and turn it into agency, mobility, and wealth. And to me, address that one final divide that exists in the African American community, especially, and that is overcoming and closing the generational wealth divide. If we could come together and focus on something that does that for our people, then I think to me that is the bold move of the future. And so again, I echo, and it would only come with collaboration.
No, thank you so much. And as we prepare to conclude, I'm going to ask a two-part, and this two-part will be more of a charge. As some of our audience that are here, and those that will see this video, they are, of course, working with students and etc. So part of that, the first part of that is, what advice would you give a student considering attending an HBCU today, or even advice that other faculty that's listening or that will see this could give a student that's considering attending an HBCU today? Then the second part of that is a charge. Um, what is one thing that leaders, institutional leaders, faculty, policymakers, alumni, students, community partners, etc., must do starting tomorrow to ensure HBCUs not only survive this moment, but truly thrive for generations to come? So again, the first part is, what advice would you give a student or someone who works with students or that are thinking about attending HBCUs? And then the second part of that is, what is something that you would leave with institutional leaders, faculty members, policymakers, etc., to that they must do starting tomorrow to ensure our HBCUs not only survive this moment, but truly thrive in the generations to come?
Okay, I'll take a shot at this. Um, the advice that I would give to a student or someone who's considering working at an HBCU is to make sure that you contact someone to find out about the inner workings of the institution, so that you will be able to have a full picture of what it is that you might experience prior to your engaging with that institution. Um, I'm really a strong student advocate, and I want to make sure that my students understand and know that this is what you're getting into. So have them contact someone that will help them understand the culture of the university or the HBCU. And then the charge that I would leave for leadership and administrators would be to make sure that you're encouraging your students to give back as alumni. Because I think when we think about how we have not supported our HBCUs, that's on us. And I think if we can convince students to, as early as we possibly can, to say, look, you're graduating from this institution, you need to understand that someone helped you. And so it's in your charge now to help someone else. So please understand that you have to give back in order to make sure that our HBCUs remain strong, because we cannot depend on the federal government as we used to. We have to do this for ourselves. And so making sure that we encourage students to give back as alums would be a strong thing that I would recommend as a charge.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson.
Yep, I'm happy. And I'm going to make this one short, Dr. Gipson, because I'm getting that low battery marker on my Mac. I told you I'm in the middle of a power outage. So if it goes to sleep on me, that's the Lord saying, smothers you, say you're talking too much. And so my charge to potential students, and this is what I do every day, and what I've been doing for the last 30 years of my life at least, and that is making the case for our HBCUs and the very powerful and transformative work in which they engage on a daily basis for all of our students. I don't care what end of the academic spectrum on which you fall. You could have the 2.1 or you could have the 3.9. I always say to students that if you're serious about an educational opportunity, that our HBCUs are there to provide that for people who look like us. And maybe some people who don't look like us in today's marketplace. I do believe that is the case. But whatever that is, whatever your level of authenticity questions are around, you can go into the HBCU space and be authentically who you are and not having people question that. I just believe that our HBCUs have a special sauce and a special approach. I believe that none is perfect in this instance. They all may have some issues, but at the end of the day, I think they're all mission driven and they want to help our people. And so you're going to get that when you go to our HBCUs. And so just go give them a chance. And it is really about what you make of it. It is about what you make of the experience. Again, so that's my charge always to students. And what I find that when students don't take my advice, who have over the years chosen other routes, within a year, they're coming back and they're saying, hey, look, what was the name of that HBCU you were trying to get me to go to, I think I want to consider them because I don't like where I went. Uh, that 9 times out of 10, that happens when a student doesn't take my advice there. And then finally, I say to just the other end of your question, Chaz, is, there has been this notion of HBCU relevance. I used to get this as an HBCU president all the time. Why are HBCUs still relevant? And so for me, the charge to our body writ large is work so hard that our institutions become indispensable, that this notion around relevance and the relevance question goes away. No one questions Yale or around and the relevance of our HBCUs. And so our work we do with our students, work in our communities has to become so powerful, so transformative that no one would ever dare question why is there still a need for our HBCUs. And I think if we focus on that part, then our institutions are in for another powerful 100 years of existence. So that would be my contribution there, Chaz.
Thank you so much for that. And I think I'm gonna turn it back over to Karen. But I do want to personally thank each of you for your wisdom and for your grace and your expertise. And as I turn it back over to Karen, are there any other questions from the audience? Feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand. Can you all see my
And
screen?
Yeah,
yes, we
thank you.
can.
Okay. Can you see the heroes
Yes.
page?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you so much, Chaz. And if we could go to that final page with the QR codes, I want to first
Is
thank
that
our
is that not it? Do you not see the
we're just seeing the page with the panel.
Okay, there
That's
we
it.
go. I'm
Perfect.
sorry.
I first want to thank you so much, Dr. Smothers, Dr. Jackson, and Dr. Vanderpool, for really giving us a rich conversation, great dialogue, great information for us to think about, and how we also move and try to encourage and support graduates to support their historically Black colleges and universities. And we will certainly stay in touch with you all as we see the needle is moving and the need and the impact that you all are making for our students and making the world a better place. We truly appreciate everything that you provided us with today. And as you will see, we are on our QEM Heroes page, where you can scan the QR codes and see our events. There's also our Heroes webpage. And if you would kindly provide the feedback from the workshop feedback form, we would greatly appreciate that. And again, I can't thank our distinguished panelists enough. I learned so much from listening to you, and my charge to you all is to continue to do what you're doing, because you're doing phenomenal things with our students, and we truly appreciate it. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. And we're gonna turn it back to Christine.
Thank you all for attending today. Thanks to our participants. Thank you to our distinguished panelists today. And I want to reiterate what Karen said about going to the QEM.org webpage and looking at our events calendar for our upcoming webinars. With that, I will say have a great afternoon and to thank you so much for your contributions today.
You all.
Thank
Great
you.
job, everybody. Thank
Thank you
you.
You
so
all.
much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.